In this video, I'm going to discuss the topic of suffering and are we addicted to our pain and suffering? So buckle up because it's going to be a juicy one. So let's dive in. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. For those that are new here, my name is Christina and I help empower people on their spiritual and healing journey. Please do hit that subscribe button right now so then you're notified of when I post a video, because it's my mission to share my message to as many people as possible and to support and empower people just like you. So let's get on to the good stuff. So in this video, I wanted to discuss and dive into the topic of suffering. So you may have heard of the famous quote by Buddha, the root of all suffering is attachment. As humans, we have a kind of survival mechanism built within our DNA, within our psyche, to attach to inanimate objects, attached to our parents, and it's all rooted in survival, particularly being attached to another human being. So when we attach to another human, or we attach ourselves to an object, it's usually out of desire and love. And when it comes to our relationships, if something happens like a heartbreak or a death, like this is not me to say like anybody's gonna die, I'm just saying, or a death, you lose a loved one, we end up suffering. And that's because we have the attachment of love connected to us. When that person breaks up with us, we're like, oh, all heartbroken because we had that attachment to them. So it's the same when we have an attachment to an object, to an outcome. Our ego attaches to this object or this idea because it says, well, this is who I am, this is my desire, this is me projecting on some future scenario, so then I can feel love, I can feel whole and complete when I have this thing, or if I buy that thing. So it's the same with our relationships. It's all rooted in a desire for love, to feel whole and complete. And if we don't get that attachment at a young age, it does affect our basic needs. It affects our attachment and the way we are able to show up in the world and make relationships. So it's important to have a secure attachment. But when we have this attachment to objects, it creates more suffering. And because we believe this thing will make us feel like we are good enough, and if we don't get that, then we aren't good enough. So this idea, this outcome, this materialistic object will always cause us to chase, which means we are in lack, and then we will suffer because of that. We will mentally suffer because we don't have that object, we don't have that outcome that will make us feel like we are enough and that we are loved. And so when we are constantly suffering, it can become addiction, because people want to create the suffering, because the ego will want to create the suffering. But if you want to cultivate more self-awareness, so you're able to let go of attachments and your old pain and your old stories, I have a 5-day emotional reset challenge coming up from the 31st of July to the 4th of August. And this challenge will be all about our triggers, our limiting beliefs, embodiment practices for permanent change. You'll shift from doing to being. And one of the days we'll dive into the inner child, and I'll be guiding you through a simple breathwork practice that's super easy for you to emotionally reset and release. So if you want to join a community of like-minded people who are dedicated to their spiritual and healing growth, click the link in the pinned comments below to sign up now, and I will see you on the other side. We can become addicted to our drama, to our pain, to our wounds, because the ego has attached itself to an identity, to an object that is actually sufferer. It's a thing, it's an idea, it's an identity that is suffering, and the ego believes that that's who I am, that object is me. This relationship determines who I am as a person. So we attach ourselves to this. So when we have all these wounds and identities that we are attached to, it's all we know. All of this materialism, our identities, our relationships, our everything, it's all we've come to know. We believe that this is who I am. And so it means we don't end up becoming aware of our suffering, or aware that the ego is actually trying to keep us small, keep us trapped and stuck in our suffering. And also the chemicals, the hormones that go through our bodies, the stress response, when we are stressed out, or when there's some kind of gossip, drama going on in our life, something negative, then we kind of become addicted to that negativity, which is the addiction to suffering, because we don't believe there is any other way. And the ego attaches to the archetype of the victim, because like I said, the ego will attach to an identity and make you believe that this is who you are, which is I'm a victim, poor me. And so we always will give off this frequency that I am a victim, and that people should know that I am a victim. And then they'll create these stories all about themselves, of all their past pain. They'll create stories about other people, blaming other people, as keeping them trapped in victimhood. For example, my mother is the perfect example of this. She will blame everybody else for her lack of abundance in her life. She will say, oh, they're lucky, so right for them, and act like that person has been greedy, they've cheated their way into money, and so she blames everybody else for her lack of abundance in her life. And this is keeping her just small and trapped in victimhood. So people get addicted to this mentality because it creates almost like a kind of attention. It creates this need for validation, which the ego really likes. And so we always want to create some kind of scenario and suffering, because we believe we are our pain, we believe we are our emotions, we believe we are our stories, our identities. Like, you are black, I am white, you are Asian, you are Hispanic, you are this, this, and this, and this, and this, and it's just not true. So when we have all of these attachments and someone tries to argue against who you are, or question what your ego believes is the norm of who you are, it's attached to that story of yourself, then you will become triggered, and this is suffering. So the more we have attachment to identities, to objects, it creates suffering. Because it's funny, I just find it really funny how much love can create so much pain as well, because we attach this idea to someone. Well, it's somebody in our life, it's an object, a really precious object, maybe an engagement ring that's been passed down in your family for generations. We love this object, for example, this ring, and then you lose it, and then you're like, oh my god, everybody's emotionally upset. And it's funny how this love can create so much pain and suffering. It's like the pendulum, or the duality of love, and then the pain, the emotional pain and fear too. So I just wanted to quickly share this video with you today, all about the attachment to suffering, or the addiction to suffering, I should say. Don't forget to check out this video next. Much love.